There's one thing like to beat somebody physically, right? You know, you line up on me, but to beat somebody intellectually, like that's a whole nother, it's much better. Like I was born stronger, but I'm smarter too, though, you know? So, yeah.
Welcome and thank you all so much for having us here. I think we're just going to have a fun conversation with the one and only Larry Fitzgerald Jr. It's wonderful to see you in purple, very, very Viking-ish.
I still got purple running through my veins.
There it is, There it is. Well, the last time you and I had a conversation, it was in Arizona a couple years ago, and it was a really fun and exciting, interesting conversation. But now we're back here in Minnesota, my hometown where I grew up in South Minneapolis, your hometown where you grew up. You're a South Sider as well. And you've been here all summer, is that correct?
Yeah, I usually come back. My kids finish school in late May, so we get up late May, and kids go back to August, so they go back to school in August, so I kind of bounce back and forth until like the 40-degree morning start, which is like today. So I'm back in Arizona full time on Friday. So
on Friday, it's a quick exit. Okay, and tell us a little bit about some of the things that you do when you're here in the summer, because I know you have events, I know you have people to see, I know you have probably some good restaurants that you hit. So tell us about what a summer in Minnesota looks like for Larry Fitzgerald.
Well, actually, it's kind of like really low key, and that's what I love about it. You know, I go to my old high school classmates, you know, barbecues and look at kids' photos from school plays, and like it's kind of like a bring you back down to earth experience for me. You know, in Phoenix, I came there only for a job, you know, to play ball, and so it feels kind of like it's home, but it feels like I was brought there for work, right? When I come back here, my spirit is at ease. It just feels very comforting. The relationships that I have here are really meaningful. They're not like transactional in nature, and so I don't know. Just there's a peacefulness about coming back here that recenters me and it definitely keeps me grounded. So, you know, I just hang out on the lake with the kids, and you know we cook meals at the house. You know, we occasionally go to Twins games, and definitely go to the State Fair every year, and you know just do regular, normal things, you know, nothing out of the ordinary.
Well, the one thing about you, Larry, is you have so many great interests that I don't see you kind of holding still a lot. You seem to be someone who is always interested and is always interested in learning and being involved. So tell us a little bit about, well, let's go back to your NFL career, but about 7 years in when you were playing football at the highest level and you decide that you need to have an internship to start thinking about your next career, because that is not something that most NFL players are thinking.
Well, I mean, you think the same way. I mean, you've continued to evolve and change and get better, you know, at every single stop. You know, like you refused to be pigeonholed as one thing. You know, you're multifaceted in terms of your skill set and your intellectual curiosity. You know, and I try to, you know, mirror that. And you know, I know as an athlete, you have a shelf life. You know, you're only as good as your knees and your ankles and your arm or whatever allows you to be. And usually, that's if you're lucky. You know, you can get to 30 years old in professional sports. You've had a long career, and so I always understood that I needed to start preparing, you know, an off-ramp for myself. And fortunately, I met a guy when I was about 24 years old in a Knicks basketball game when the Suns were playing, and he challenged me. I didn't know this guy at all. His name was Frank, and he was like, "Hey, what are you gonna do when you get done playing?" I'm thinking in my mind, like, I'm in my 4th year. I've made 2 All-Pros. I'm on the verge of signing a record new contract. Like, I'm gonna do this forever. You know, I'm thinking that in my mind, and obviously that's not the case. But you know, I ended up getting his email. I shot him an email when I got back to Arizona. And we struck up a relationship, and Frank happened to be, you know, he had this little job in New York. He was the COO at JP Morgan. And I had no idea what that even entailed, but he was like, "Hey, I want you to come do an internship for me." So I went and did an internship with him for about 3.5 weeks. And I've been in big games. I played in Super Bowls. I've never been as nervous as I was in that. You know, I got the list of all my classmates, or not classmates, everybody else was doing internship, and I looked at the names in the schools. I saw HBS, I saw Tuck, I saw Wharton, I saw Kellogg, GSB, all these like super smart kids, and I'm like, what the heck am I doing here?
University of Pitt.
But not even a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. I left to go to the NFL halfway through my sophomore year, right? You know, like these kids have forgotten more than I learned in college. But once I got in the room with them and we were, you know, kind of given our responsibilities daily, like, yeah, they knew how to run Excel spreadsheets and, you know, things of that nature. But like in terms of leadership and taking responsibility and being able to foster relationships, like they quite frankly struggled with a lot of those things that I was really good at. And so it gave me like a lot of confidence to just continue to invest in myself because, you know, I can learn those skills, right? But teaching leadership and work ethic and, you know, the ability to connect with people, those things are kind of innate, right? And so it gave me a lot of confidence to start, you know, putting myself in uncomfortable situations more frequently and not just pigeonholing myself just as an athlete. And I think the thing that I learned quickly is being an athlete, it gives you like unparalleled access, right? It gives you access to unbelievable things. And a lot of guys use that access for bottle service in Vegas, right?
Yes.
Or, you know, dinner reservations in Miami, right? That's access too, right?
Yep.
But the access that I was trying to get is you know, trying to help myself and my family evolve and take what I did on the football field and be able to help myself transition into the next stages of my life. And so I did a lot of that. I invested a lot of time. You know, after that year, I did an internship at KKR. The following summer, I did one at CD&R, Clayton Dover Rice, a healthcare private equity firm. The year after that, I did it at Silver Lake, which is a tech-focused private equity firm in the Bay. And then the year after that, I went, because I would take executive courses at business schools as well. But the next year, I went to GSB for about 2 weeks. I'd never been to Stanford's campus, and I stumbled into the innovation lab. And I was really interested in seeing these young kids. You know, they were building these unbelievable, complex businesses. And like, I just really would gravitate to them because like they kind of had the same mentality as an athlete. I can always remember going to school and a teacher would ask you like, so what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to be a professional athlete. And they're like, this kid, he has no clue. Like there's like a 1% chance of people making it. Like, but what do you really want to do? Like, what are you going to do when you fail at that? He's like, no, I'm going to make it, right? And so when I talk to these young founders now, like they have that same mentality. They're trying to solve this complex issue that nobody else is thinking about, but they think they have the idea that can solve that problem. So it's like this same, like, unbelievable confidence in yourself. And so I saw a lot of similarities and I kind of really gravitated to it. And, you know, that's what I've been doing ever since. And it's like football. When I woke up in the morning and my feet hit the ground, I didn't ever feel like I was going to work. I felt like I was going to do something that I really love to do.
That is incredible. Again, a curious mind will lead you into a lot of different areas. Give us a little bit when you talk about the confidence, because we know about the confidence that you had to have in your long NFL career. And so now you're in these new spaces and you're kind of giving us the insight right now about, I had to have confidence and I'm learning and I'm watching. When you're investing, if you look at Larry's LinkedIn, it leads with investor. So how do you make the decisions on where to invest? And how do you look at maybe someone who's starting a business and think, that's the business I want to invest in?
I invest in like 3 different categories, like fintech infrastructure, critical technologies, and enterprise software. And, you know, through my relationships that I've developed, I've been able to be around like a lot of really interesting business. So like Frank First Data or Fiserv, you know, they process every single credit card transaction that happens, or probably 60% of them. So they have a pretty good understanding of what the consumer spending habits are and like where the weaknesses are, where they see that there's ways to take advantage of the spread and things of that nature. And so like being able to work with American Express and Visa and companies like that, you get a general idea of like where the weaknesses are. And so when I see these fintech companies spend time with the founders, I have in the back of my mind kind of what I'm looking for, and if they can demonstrate that they have, you know, proprietary information or technologies that can do certain things, you know, it piques your interest. And then obviously you go through diligence and see who other investors are in the company, or the co-workers that have gone through there. If is there anybody they went to college with that I can connect with to find if they're a high quality person, you know, are they honest, are they trustworthy, you know, all the things that you would kind of want to walk yourself through. And that's kind of how kind of go through the process of making my investments. And like I said, it's just about, it's just repetition. It's just getting, the more reps you can get, the better you will be able to get, and it becomes pattern recognition. It's that's pretty much what my day job is, and I love it.
Tell us a little bit about leadership and some of the leaders that really have allowed you to get into some of these spaces. Has there been one or two significant individuals that have, kind of sat you down and said, like Frank obviously is one of them, that said, these are the things you have to know in this industry, or this is the way you have to walk into the room in those board meetings? What's some of the advice that maybe you can share with everybody in this room?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different people that I draw on for leadership, and like you can be inspired and motivated by anybody. Like one of the best leaders I've ever been around was my 5th and 6th grade, teacher, Miss Michelle Cambrice, and like the way she commanded and demanded respect, the way she poured into each individual student. Like even though I struggled with certain things, I would struggle with, some arithmetic. The way she talked to me, the way she inspired with it, the way she motivated me, she made me feel like I was the smartest kid in the classroom. And like that was the confidence I needed to be able to take that next step and give myself the ability to thrive. And so like I learned from a lot of different people. Do I learn from, CEOs and executives around the country? Yes, but I learned from people that do, a wide array of things. And that's kind of like how my mind is. I hear somebody say something like, "Oh wow, it's interesting." I was on the call this morning, and one of the partners said, it takes a lifetime to build a relationship, and you can destroy it with one deal. Like that resonates with me. Is like every single interaction you have, everything that you've done in the past could be destroyed if you don't handle that one relationship well. And so, like I learn from everybody. I learned from Mike. The way his dad led is very different from the way he leads. But the world is a different place. So what may have worked 25 years ago, it doesn't work today. And to be able to see that and pour into people, and like being here with Bell and seeing how they look at philanthropy and how they challenge every single one of their employees and motivate them to pour into the communities and answer the bell when things are in need, or are leadership qualities that I really admire, and it resonates with me. And so I learn from everybody. Yeah.
I love that. Tell us a little bit more about that connection with Bell Bank, because obviously you had the opportunity to work with and put your brand onto many different businesses and companies around the world, but you chose Bell Bank to be one of your partners. Talk a little bit more about becoming a Bell Bank champion, why that was important to you. And you've already mentioned the leadership of Mike Solberg, his family, but give us a little bit more in depth on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities in terms of the way I try to live my life and the way Bell Bank has existed for decades, right? And obviously, that you sit on the board, you're in the inner workings, you see how the sausage is made every day. But being a Minnesota person, this is a very large community for Bell Bank, and obviously being in Phoenix, which is a massive opportunity for Bell to continue to grow. I see how they respect it in the community, right? I see how people that have done business with them, how they talk about them, what they stand for, and you want to be associated with people that are similar to what you are in terms of how you think and how you care, and so it makes it very easy in terms of the philanthropic endeavors. They've been unbelievably supportive of our initiatives and raising awareness for breast cancer, and also helping us tackle a lot of systemic issues in terms of our mentoring programs. And it's just so much alignment there. It just really was really a natural fit for me. And one of my good friends who's here today, Latasha Kazi, she's actually the president of Phoenix Speedway. She was the reason I was able to meet Mike and the rest of the crew. And Latasha's the same way. She sits on United Way board and Boys and Girls Club board. And so like just everybody that I'm associated with has that deep rooted thoughtfulness about the community. And so it was really a natural fit for me, and hopefully it's a natural fit for them too.
Yeah, it's been really wonderful to see the things that you all have accomplished with working together. Tell us a little bit, you mentioned breast cancer awareness, and you do a lot of work with young people in the community. Your philanthropy is known throughout the country. Tell us a little bit how you selected the places that you provide work for?
Yeah, so growing up here in the Twin Cities, my mom was in a nonprofit space. I mean, that's what she did. And she drug my brother and I to every single thing she could ever imagine. Like, just imagine it being like August, perfect day outside. All your friends are at the park playing basketball, swimming in the pool, and your mom makes you go down Lake Street and pass out pamphlets for a breast cancer support center. I'm like,
That's a good mother.
like, Mom, come on, man, this is terrible, right? But what it did is like she built a really strong foundation in our family about what's important. Like, how do you want to spend your time? How do you want to show up for people that are in need? And like, she always made it important. And like, we didn't have an exorbitant amount of money to give to charities. Obviously, charities and 501c3s and nonprofit, they require funds, right? But like, there's people that need to be able to execute when the funds are there. And my mom was like on the forefront of that. And so seeing it from an operational standpoint, you know, it really just like let us know, it crystallized the importance of community service at a really young age. And I'm glad she made us do it. And you know, what brings me a lot of joy is like all three of my younger sons now, like all my events, you know, they come, and I don't have to beg them to come. They come because they want to come. And so like, it makes me happy. You know, my mom, you know, poured into us, and I see my sons kind of embodying some of those same characteristics my mom stood for. It just like, it makes me happy.
Yeah, you've done an amazing job raising young ones, and your mother did an amazing job with you and your sibling. Tell us a little bit about, this is just kind of a random fact that I read about you, but I was interested in it because you're a chess player. And chess kind of helped you get through part of your childhood. And so I'm kind of curious about that. I would say I'm more of a checkers girl. Like, it's just, I don't know, it seems easier just jumping around playing checkers. But you're a chess guy, and I love that. So give us a little insight on that.
Yeah, so my dad actually played chess. He was on the chess team at Indiana State. He was a really good player. And my dad used to terrorize us. Like, he had two boards. My brother and I would play them simultaneously, and he would just beat us down, right? You know, he would start with like no rook, no king, and then, you know, then we would get better, and then he would add pieces. And I still remember vividly, I was like 14 or 15, and I beat my dad. It was like one of the best days of my life. And like, he's one of those guys that he's like me, and I learned this from my dad. Like, I never let my kids win at anything. Like, you have to earn wins. Like, it's so hard, and it makes you appreciate it when you get your butt kicked for a long period of time, and you finally are able to elevate your game to a point where you can win on your own. Like, the confidence that it put in me. But even going back younger, I was introduced about 7 or 8 when I first started playing, and you know, I struggled with some ADHD, so I kind of struggled in school a little bit. And my parents were considering putting me on Adderall or Ritalin or one of the other medications that would help slow me down. And my after-school coach, chess teacher, Coach Willie, came to my mom and dad and was like, hey, why don't we try chess? Chess really will help him slow his mind down, to help him be more strategic and more thoughtful. He's playing offense, he's playing defense, it's interactive. You know, it possesses all of these really cool intangibles that I think would help him. And so my mom and dad was like, cool, we'll put him in. So I started playing, and like, I got to compete in the weekends at city championships, and I got better and I started winning. And like, it really helped me in school too. It helped me be able to collect my thoughts, because it was one of those things my mom did, like, hey, if you don't do well in class, if you don't do this, you're not playing the tournament this week. And so like, it was another motivating tip or chip for me to be able to acquire. And you know, I was able to invest about 6 years ago in chess.com, which is the largest online playing app right now. We have about 1 million new subscribers every single month, and I love the TAM, because like, chess is played on all 6 continents, right? You know, I play every day on my phone, and you know, I play people from India and Pakistan and New Zealand and all over the world. And you know, it's an international game where you really can compete. And it's one thing like to beat somebody physically, right? You know, you line up on me, you try to guard me, and I do my thing, and I catch a touchdown. That's cool, but to beat somebody intellectually, like, that's a whole nother. It's much better. It's like, Leah, I'm smarter than you. I'm smarter than you. You know what I mean? I was born stronger, but I'm smarter too, though. You know. So yeah. Yeah.
That's a good feeling, and I guess I should have learned chess in the end.
I can teach you. It's not too late.
Okay,
All
okay,
right?
thank
All
you,
right.
Larry, I appreciate that. So what are some things that you're excited about in the future as you're looking to get involved in more? I know, you're still invested in over 160 companies.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to keep moving that number, or are you kind of set on that, or what are you looking forward to?
No, I mean, I enjoy that, so I plan to continue to do that. That's what we do at my firm. But what I'm really, really excited about, October 31st, which is Halloween, we've finalized our partnership with Banner Health and MD Anderson down in Phoenix. We're going to do the Larry Fitzgerald Breast Health Center, which will open up in October, which I'm really, really happy. We'll be able to provide mammograms and screenings for women who find lumps or things of that nature for free down there, which I'm really, really stoked about. So that's the one thing that I'm really happy. It's been a few years in the making to try to get this partnership in alignment, and we finally got there. And Bell Bank has been a big part of making that happen.
Yeah, that's incredibly important. Thank you for doing that work. We appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about, you recently had the opportunity to go back to your alma mater and be the commencement speaker at the University of Pitt, and that's a pretty big moment to kind of stand up there in front of everyone. Give us a little bit of insight on what that was like. I know the NFL did a really kind of poignant, kind of beautiful video around it.
Yeah, the funny thing about that, the video that was done by my former college teammate, Chris Wilson. He played tight end and was a great mentor for me. But for anybody, when we talk after, I would like to be referred to as Dr. Fitzgerald now.
Yes,
so we
sir.
keep, yeah.
Dr. Fitzgerald, who plays chess.
Yeah.
He's the smartest man in the room.
Yeah. It was a great honor. I remember getting a phone call. I was in Arizona, and President Gable, who used to be the president here at University of Minnesota, is now University of Pittsburgh, called and told me that they wanted to recognize me and have me do the commencement speeches. It was an honor, it really was, and to be able to go back and see a full arena and see 3,300 students graduate and hear some of the stories and see the work that they put in, and it was really amazing to be able to experience that. I just tried to impart a few things, experiences that I had that I think would resonate with a 22-year-old who's about to get into the workforce, and the mindset that I hope they have, about unifying and bringing people together, not worrying about the differences that we have as society, find the commonalities, and really embrace those things, and that's what I really tried to impart, and it was one of those experiences I'll never forget.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Larry, what do you think holds most people back? Is it like the fear to move forward, the fear to do something different, to step into spaces that feel unfamiliar?
Yeah, I think people they get a little gun shy, right? They see it as a challenge, as an obstacle, and they don't think they have the confidence or they have the ability to do it. And I never subscribed to that. I failed a million times. I don't care about failing. That's not going to stop my pursuit of excellence, right? And you look at the great entrepreneurs or the great businesses. Most of these founders, people see Elon Musk, and I'm not talking about his political views or his antics on X, but I'm talking about one of the founders of PayPal. He made $300 million from that transaction. He put $300 million into SpaceX, and he's put $300 million into Tesla. The chances of those companies succeeding are less than 1%. But that's the mindset he has, is I'm all in. And so I just admire that tenacity and that confidence that those great leaders have in themselves. And I think if people were just more fearless with taking chances on themselves, you can do some really, really cool things. And then people are they gravitate to people who are confident in themselves. When you are selling something to somebody and you walk into that meeting and you light that room up and you present them with something that they don't have an opportunity to be a part of, people want that. They're drawn to it. And so when you develop those kind of characteristics and skills, it can take you a long way.
That's really incredible. Now, this is kind of just a random question, but Are you taller than I, or am I taller than you?
Oh, I'm taller than you. But you always wear these heels and like make yourself all tall.
I just want to ask the audience who thinks I'm taller than Larry.
Before
I stand up, I would like to see everyone raise their hand who thinks I'm taller than Larry. Half the room.
I know.
Half the room. All right. Before we go to questions, we're doing an official.
Are we going to stand up?
Okay, hold on.
Yes. I got it.
Oh, I was so sure I was taller than you. Okay, well, I just wanted to clear the air on that one. All right, well, let's open it up for questions. I'm sure the audience has lots of questions for you. We have a microphone over here that Julie has, so if anyone has a question, and over here, Aaron as well, you can just raise your hands. It's a once and only chance, folks, to ask Larry Fitzgerald a question.
Not all at once.
Here we go. Doctor, thank you. My bad. Yes.
Larry, it's awesome. Quick question on you said 160 companies you're invested in. Like, what's the key distinguisher for you from the either leadership team or the founder? Like, what are you looking at when you're making those investments? How do you gauge that?
Well, I just look at what like the product market fit is, definitely leadership group, like the addressable market, and also like my connectivity, like how can I help this particular company and this founder, and that's a lot of the reasons why, I decided to lean in. Like I see a lot of great opportunities, but if there's nothing I can do to help, like I really don't really like to lean into it. Like for instance, like chess.com, I was connected to it. There was a part of that really resonated with me. I wanted to bring it to other people and so the last 4 years, the NFL has partnered with us to do Bliss Champs. And so I get, 12 NFL players and they play against each other and the winner takes home $100,000 for their charity or a charity that they want to support. And so like raising awareness and bringing people along is something that I really enjoy doing. And so if there's companies or businesses that I can help do that with, like I lean into those.
In the back over here.
I took a bunch of notes from you earlier when you said like you go off to college and you don't know what your plan is. My daughter, I think to college, she committed as a sophomore to play soccer, but she doesn't really know what she wants to do. And like I just wrote down, be open-minded, be confident, out for an opportunity, and just listen to people's advice and go for everything. It's pretty cool advice you gave today, but anything else you can tell a kid that she thinks she's going to be a dentist because she doesn't know how she can handle playing 7 days a week? I just wanted to hear something from an athlete.
Yeah, well, congratulations on your daughter. That's amazing. She's going to play, college sports. Like, I wouldn't stress, she's a sophomore. She's 19 years old. She's a baby. Like, she's got a long time to figure out. I tell her to pour into relationships. Like all of you guys in this room are mostly in finance. Like it's a relationship. Life is a relationship. Yeah. It's relationship with your professors, relationship with your sorority sisters, relationship with your teammates. And these things, if you pour into them, there might be somebody that you met in college that's doing something really interesting and they, hey, why don't you come do this with me? And you try it and you find that you really take to it and you like it. And so like obviously she needs to learn the technical skills that school is teaching her, but like really that's what college is about. It's about, finding who you are, finding out about yourself. You're away from home for the first time. You don't have anybody washing your clothes or telling you what time to get up to go to school and what time to go to practice and what you should be eating. These are all decisions that you start to make on your own, and the people that you associate with are the ones that really kind of help shape who you are as an individual. So I would just challenge you as a father to push her to immerse herself in as many different activities as she can on campus. I did, when I was in school, I did everything. Like, I would drop into the debate, I would, go over to see the student body council. I would go talk to these people working in the newspaper. I was even over, like I'm pushing my son. My son will be a freshman next year at Notre Dame, and I've already talked to the guy who, ran Notre Dame's endowment fund, Scott Malpass. He ran it for 20 years. He took it from $700 million to $15 billion in his time there. But I want my son to go work in the endowment fund. Like he wants to get into finance, I think the best way for you to kind of touch everything is you'll work in the endowment fund, you'll get mezzanine funding, you'll get leverage buyouts, you'll get private equity, you get public markets, you get a little bit of everything, and you kind of figure out like what it is that you want to, do. And then the sophomore year, you can kind of be more specialized based on what you learned the year before. And so, I push her to just open up, just go do everything she can.
I know you mentioned, Larry, that your dad never let you win at anything, but please tell me you don't always beat your son all the time. I mean, that's not really fair with the experience that you've had in 17 years in the NFL.
My son is 17, and football, we can't really compete one-on-one, but last summer, we played one-on-one basketball, and he had me down 8-2. And he had never beat me in basketball before. I was like a decent player, but he had me down. He missed a couple shots late, and I ended up beating him. But I had to dig real deep, and I could see him, the way he was responding to me, and he brought that competitive fire out of me. I fouled him a couple times, like hard, on layups, and he was looking at me like I've never seen this side of you before,
Right.
I had to go to my old athletics. I had to flip the switch on him. But after I sat down, I was so tired, my back was tight, but I couldn't let him get me though. I just couldn't let him get me. And now so every day, he'd be like, Dad, let's run it back. I'm never playing him again. I'm never playing him again because he might kill me. He might kill me at this point. I was so tired. I was sore for 3-4 days after that game because I had to do some things that I just didn't want to do. But parents, you guys can understand that. You can understand that. I beat him up in chest and all that stuff now. But basketball, we done with that. We done with that. Yeah.
And I love it. Get out now while you're ahead.
Gotta get out.
Exactly. One last question? Anyone on this side of the room? Oh, right here.
You've invested in 160 companies. Dr. Fitzgerald. Can you tell us about a few others you're excited about? What's really innovative or unique? What are some businesses that you're seeing come about that you've invested in that maybe we should also?
Just a little insider.
They're mostly all private companies, but there's one that I'm really excited about. We're in the final running to be able to purchase the new flag football league through the National Football League, and so. We're in the final two. We'll know in November, and I'm meeting with Commissioner Goodell Monday and Tuesday to kind of figure it out. We're going to be there with the new co-CEO of NBC Universal because they're going to be doing the broadcasting rights for it, and so I'm hoping that is going to be our next most exciting opportunity, which I'm really happy about. I think flag football is. I've learned so much going through this process. So, what percentage of NFL fans do you think women make up of NFL fans?
Pre or post Taylor Swift?
Post.
51%?
40%?
Yeah.
52%. 52%. And they also represent 65% of the buying power. So if you're a mother, I remember my dad would take us to the games, but if we wanted to buy a jersey or some memorabilia, Mom always bought it. Mom was the one that goes online. They make all the purchases for the family, and so all these NFL fans that are women in our country, they don't realistically have a chance to ever participate. There's no other league that women can watch. You can play in the WNBA, there's the WMLS, there's professional sports league. There's no professional football league, right? And this flag now gives women a chance to be able to do it, get scholarships now in college to be able to go and really be able to participate in the growth of the game. And so, to be able to have that and, being able to see it played in the Olympics in 2028, it's a really exciting time for the growth of the sport.
That is so cool. I hope that works out for you. So we're going to wrap things up here, but just one last final question, just because I'm curious about this. You have met so many different people throughout your career. Is there someone out there that you're really interested in meeting, connecting with out in the world that Larry Fitzgerald is like, I would just love to sit down and have a conversation with this person?
I got a chance to spend a little bit of time with Jensen Huang a couple days ago, the founder and CEO of NVIDIA. And that was a fascinating conversation.
That it was.
Yeah, about how he sees the world and the things he's got an opportunity to see, from his government contracts and his hiring policies. Like, he doesn't believe in firing people. He thinks people fire themselves. And like, I never really thought about that, but he's like, the pace that we run with the innovation, if you can't keep up here, like, you're gonna feel out of place and you're gonna wanna leave. And he's like, so I wanna hire people who, kind of understand the pace of the pack, right? And that's just how we run. And, being able to talk with him for 30 minutes about, all of those things was really cool. So I would say that was definitely the highlight of the last few months.
Yeah, very impressive. Larry Fitzgerald, Dr. Larry Fitzgerald, thank you so much. It is always a pleasure.
What's your prediction with the Timberwolves? You like over or under 50 wins?
I'm going to say I like it. I like that this team's coming back. No major changes. Nothing's really been blown up this season. So I think the continuity from last season is going to roll right into this season. I think they figured out how to get the ball into Rudy Gobert. So I'm going to go ahead and predict Western Conference Finals once again, folks. All right? There it is.
And who's going to be the Western Conference champs, though?
The Minnesota Timberwolves.
I had the luxury of sitting next to her at Game 4 at the Target Center when OKC came here, and you weren't as confident for some reason. I don't know. A lot has changed since then.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much.